Now that we have our database working and our data, we're just going to do a quick cleanup. One of the things we're going to do is turn our repositories into interfaces and use those directly rather than the concrete classes. Now, it's a little bit early on in the project for when I would normally do this, but we're probably going to show some inserting a cache in between us and the database. So it's just nice to drop that in now and show you how easy it is. And this is why I tend to program against a concrete class, because it's much easier to program against the concrete class and be able to change the API really quickly without having to change an interface and then a concrete class, and work on it and rapidly go through our solution. And finally, at the end, we can turn it into an interface when we decide we need it as an interface, or if we know very shortly we're going to need it as an interface. So all we do is we change our DI container to map the interface to the concrete class, and that's it. Now, last cleanup thing we're going to do is we're going to add an editor config file. This is something that is supported by both VS Code and Visual Studio, and the support is getting better with each release and each update of Visual Studio 2017. What we're going to do is have an indent style for all of our base files, and that's going to be space to start with. The indent size 4, character set UTF-8, and insert final new line equals true. Then we'll have a special setting for scripts for Linux. Make sure the end of line is LF instead of LFCR. And same for Docker files. We'll just make sure it's got the same line indents there. Most of the meat of our changes is going to be in the actual CS files. We will change the indent style for JSON files and YAML files to 2 spaces, just because that tends to be the standard everyone uses. And finally, we'll get into our CS files. Now here, we are going to, first of all, say that all system using should go to the top of our using directives if we sort them. I'm not entirely sure this command is actually working at the moment. I haven't seen it work, but never mind. We'll put it in there anyway. Now, I don't like the use of this. If you do like the use of this, reverse the rules, fine, whatever, but at least have a standard, because it's really annoying for people not to know what standard there is for a particular repo, and then have their code reviews or PRs rejected at review time due to style rather than due to programming errors or logic errors or actual problems with the code. So here we say we want to make sure that we always use the inbuilt types, the keywords for instance, like int or the small s string, rather than int32 or string. We like to prefer to use named tuples rather than item1, item2 where available. Prefer not to use a explicit null check, but instead a null conditional. So that is a question mark. So my handler .invoke rather than a check if it's if and then invoke it. Prefer to use inline expressions. For out, so inline it. So when you're doing try get, for instance, you can say out string space value rather than explicitly declaring the variable beforehand. C#7 pattern matching, much prefer that rather than is or as. We can just cast it directly in the if statement or in the switch statement. Var, I like var used on all the things. Once again, these are taste, but what I'm saying, what the point really here is that you should set them on your repo so that people understand what they should be doing. It makes it easy so that they don't make mistakes. So we should use null coalesce instead of if. So that is set foo to our value, and if it's null, so use question mark, do something else. Finally, object initializers, and use all the possible method bodies. So using expression bodies for all our methods. And then we'll just flick through our code, opening our files, and check out the messages down the bottom. And really the only ones that we've missed out on doing is the expression bodied members. So we will just add those in now. It should be super quick. Just flick through a couple. You don't need to go through the entire repo. As you can see, it makes your classes really short and tidy, especially if they're not doing a lot, as they're not in some of our example ones now, like these pass-through ones here. It makes you feel better about doing pass-through methods as well when they look that small, neat and tidy. And that's about it from this tutorial. We're just going to carry on tidying up all these files. Thanks for watching, and in the next set of tutorials we'll get into Swagger and building ourselves an SDK that we can deploy to our client applications. Thanks for watching.